Man sprints out of bank after receiving this shocking note from teller. Rob Edwards, a family man from Florida, couldn't believe the week he was having. It was a special one for him, as he had recently celebrated 21 years of being happily married to his wife. But there was also another upcoming event that had him absolutely over the moon. When it happened, it took him a while to come to terms with the realization. Rob loved his children. They were his life. And his eldest son, Cole, had just finished high school. So everyone was enthusiastically preparing for his graduation ceremony. However, Rob could have never imagined what fate had in its books for him. Something was about to happen that would change the course of his life forever. On graduation day, Rob started his day early so he could finish everything that he had to do before the ceremony. His first stop was the bank. When he arrived at the bank, noticed that there weren't many people there. But even if the line had stretched around the entire block, he wouldn't have cared. Rob was in such a good mood that when he saw a lady rushing to get inside the same bank, he opened the door for her with a huge smile and told her that she could jump ahead of him in the queue. The woman at first was a bit reluctant. She initially thought that Rob had to be up to something fishy. But after staring at him for a while, she muttered, "Thank you." She lingered before the open door, fiddling with her bag and glancing from the cashier's desks to the exit. Granted, acts of kindness were rarer than they should be, but the simple act of letting her go ahead seemed to shock her more than most people. After a few more awkward moments, she finally gave a small, nervous smile to Rob and thanked him for his kindness. After that, it was the standard chit-chat between strangers trying to pass the time. It was the standard cycle of topics: weather, traffic, and whatnot. The woman half listened, nodding, and continually glancing at the long line of employees counting wads of cash. Maybe she was in a hurry? Or there were a lot of things on her mind. Because during the wait, he couldn't help but notice the white-knuckle grip she had on her bag. But then, Rob noticed something else that let him know that there had to be something wrong. A bead of sweat trickled down her forehead. "Today my son graduates. I'm slowing down and want to savor every minute," Rob told the woman. "Oh yeah? He must be excited," she said, finally joining the conversation. It seemed like the lady was easing up now. But right then, Rob noticed her doing something. Her hand went down to her pocket and gripped something inside. Rob told her more about his family and the big, upcoming event. He couldn't help it. The joy was bursting to get out. He reached for his phone, eager to show off photos of his eldest child. But he was so excited and over the moon that the juggling made him drop his money clip and credit card bundle on the floor. The woman acted first. She bolted to the ground faster than necessary. She scooped up the items and looked Rob right in the eyes. "It's so wonderful your boy is graduating," she said. Then, she muttered something else. "I would do anything to make sure my boy has the same future." She hesitated, still holding his belongings. "I completely understand. I'm here to get him something for the big day." He wanted to take out a stack of bills and watch the look on his son's face as he counted them. It was going to be fun money for him to splurge on whatever he wanted. But he needed his card, and she was still gripping it tightly. She finally handed his things back with another nervous smile and a couple more beads of sweat. A free cashier called for another customer. The woman thanked Rob once again and scurried for the desk. But their interaction was far from over. He would never be prepared for what this woman had done and was about to do. The woman clumsily brought out a stack of papers and a bank book. Her face had gone white and looked as if she was about to fall over. Why was she so agitated? Was there something wrong? And right then, Rob noticed her hand go down to her pocket again, this time shoving it deep inside. She glanced back at Rob again, then quickly looked away. Even if he was utterly happy, he couldn't help but notice the very strange behavior. And it was about to get worse. It only got weirder when she leaned in and whispered something to the cashier. Whatever it was, made the employee's eyes turn wide in surprise. Rob was intrigued, but he couldn't keep watching. It was finally his turn. He approached the employee's desk and completed his transaction with a big smile on his face. Every minute, he was closer to his kid's graduation, or so he thought. However, that smile wouldn't last for long, as what was about to happen next would shock him to the core. He slipped his card to the cashier and asked for the sum in tens. It would be more fun for his boy to count that way. But the cashier suddenly looked at her screen with wide eyes. Then, he said something that left Rob absolutely puzzled. "I'm sorry, sir. I can't give you that amount." Rob stared back, wondering what the problem was. He was sure he had enough in his account. He had triple-checked before he left. Maybe there was a daily limit on his card that he wasn't aware of? But there was even more coming his way. The other worker came over and slipped him a note. "It's from the woman, sir," he said. He turned to see the woman rushing out of the bank. What was going on? It was then the panic set in. As if struck by an unspeakable gut feeling, he reached for his money clip and card bundle again. She had scooped it up, but had she grabbed it for a different reason than just giving it back to him? All the cash was there. And so were the cards. Thank God. The answer had to be on the slip of paper she had given him. But whatever she wanted to tell him, why didn't she just say it? He quickly opened it and gasped at the brief message that looked like it had been scribbled in a hurry. Next, the cashier slipped him a plain white envelope. He couldn't believe what was happening. It all felt like a fever dream, but it was real. He stood there, speechless, trying to put the pieces together that had led to this unforgettable moment. What exactly was going on there? The words scrawled across the paper burned into his brain. The reason for the odd behavior was now clear. "I'm so sorry. I suffer from anxiety, and it's hard for me to be out of the house. I didn't mean to be rude. Thank you for your kindness. Congratulations on this wonderful day." Rob was relieved to know that there wasn't anything wrong with the woman. But what was in the envelope? He stood there staring at the contents for a good minute before he could finally speak. He couldn't believe what was in front of him. But it was real. The two employees assured him it was real, and even if it was something they had never seen before, there was nothing wrong with keeping what he was holding. He felt the joy turn into a new level that brought tears to his eyes. It was money, $200. But he still couldn't understand why. The apology note was already more than enough. The lady had already left the bank, but Rob needed answers, so he did the only thing he could do. He ran out the door. Rob scanned the street. She was already pulling away. He bolted at full speed, waving his arms and trying to get her attention before she disappeared. Thankfully, at the last minute, she saw him and stopped the car. Rob braced herself. However, he could have never predicted what the lady was about to say to him. When Rob approached the woman, and after catching his breath from running, he said, "I can't take this." It was simply too much for just a polite gesture. He couldn't accept it. He tried to hand back the envelope through her window, but she pushed it back, insisting he keep it. "But why? You don't need to do this." The woman explained how he was well aware that her condition made people uncomfortable. Going out to the bank was a big step for her. But even if she had been a bit off, Rob's words had touched her in a very deep way. As a mother, she understood what he was feeling, even if she had trouble showing it. "When you talk about your boy, you glow. You're a blessing to him. I want to bless him too," the woman explained. She gave a genuine smile and nudged the envelope back again. It was clear to Rob that she meant what she said. Rob wiped away another tear. But that conversation wasn't over yet. There was just one more question. It was none of his business, but what was in her pocket? She chuckled and pulled out a little figurine of an angel. Her son had given it to her for when she needed comfort in difficult times. Rob thanked her over and over again and begged to take a picture together. She obliged, and they went their separate ways. The time for the graduation ceremony came. Rob was overjoyed and couldn't stop smiling. He was so proud of his son, but what had added to his happiness was the incident with the woman. He couldn't get it out of his head, so he made a post on Facebook about it. The response was crazy. Everyone loved that story, and there were countless comments. First of all, kid, I can't believe your boy is 18. Second, I've been thinking a lot about the transformational power of love and kindness. Our life is like a vapor, it is here, and then it's gone. Thanks for sharing your blessings, somebody commented on Rob's post. A Facebook friend of Rob's also wrote, the whole point of life right here. And it could not have happened to a more deserving person. Great story, Rob Edwards. And so well told, as per usual, he continued. When you write a book, look me up. I reckon I got a few titles for you already. Rob couldn't hide how much the woman's action had touched him and how grateful he was. I was so touched. I don't know her name, I've never ever seen her before. But I will never forget her love. I asked to take a picture with her. And hugged her neck. We need more of this in the world today, Rob wrote, not the money. But kindness. I hugged a complete stranger today. My son who I love with all my heart was shown love, he said. The proud father's post continued, many of you who know me know what I believe in. Sounds kind of familiar, doesn't it? It warms the father's heart to love the son. I am blessed. Cole Edwards, I'm so proud of you. To my bank customer friend. Thank you. Rob added. But there's more to this story than meets the eye. A heartwarming fact is that in the U.S. there is an entire day dedicated to doing random acts of kindness. That's the 17th of February. That day you just choose a random act of kindness, and you perform it for a stranger just to help them and brighten up their day. But that's not all. There were more comments on Rob's post. What a precious story. Thank you for sharing. God bless her for sharing love and being an example of what love looks like. We need more love in the world, wrote another user on Rob's post. The funny thing was that through the comments we found a similar story to Rob's. Another strange and heartwarming story was told by an Imager user named GingerSnap1316. The user claimed that while she was at home alone, someone rang her doorbell. When she opened the door, she didn't recognize the man standing in front of her. Immediately, she got an eerie feeling. Then the stranger asked her something really weird. Are you Karen? The stranger asked her. I told him no, that Karen was my mom, and he gave a quick smile and handed me an unmarked envelope and walked away. I get inside and open it up. What was inside the envelope shocked her. It was $1,000 in cash along with a letter. But what was that for? Please accept this gift as an act of random kindness. A cherished member of our family devoted much of her time and resources to helping people through random acts of kindness. She gave to others in many ways, and always did so anonymously. One way our family has chosen to honor her memory is to continue in the tradition of helping others in the community with acts of random kindness, the letter wrote. A random act of kindness does not have to involve the giving of money. It can be as simple as sharing your time with someone, lending an ear, or offering a compliment, the letter continued. The most important part is that the act is unsolicited and done so with no expectation of anything in return. Every kind act has a huge impact on someone, and it's really nice whenever we can to help someone in need. So be kind and faith in humanity will be restored. However, these types of acts don't always turn out well. Some say that if you give love, you'll get love in return, but others think differently and believe no good deed goes unpunished to be a more accurate saying. That's what happened in the following story. Ray, a 21-year-old student at Temple University, Philadelphia, was walking down the street one morning when something absolutely baffling happened to him. He thought he was doing a good deed, and that was enough to make him happy. He didn't expect anything in return. However, his act would turn out to bear some undesirable consequences he wasn't ready for. It was Ray's third year in college, and he was totally enjoying it. The young man was born and raised in Wall, New Jersey. Although he wasn't that far from home, moving to Philadelphia had been a total change of scenery for him. Back in his hometown, he often felt bored. There weren't many things to do, and he had never been a social butterfly during high school. That changed when he moved to Philly. For the first year, it was a little hard for him to get used to his new environment. He was a little nervous about the whole change, and it took him a while to adjust and make new friends. However, by the end of the year, he couldn't be more satisfied. He had a group of friends, and he was doing fun things every weekend. But the city also had its own problems. Ray lived in the north part of the city, where some neighborhoods were less recommendable than others. Ray had never had a serious problem, but sometimes there were some antics going on near where he lived. By his third year, he had seen all types of things. But nothing came close to what happened to him that morning. The month of February was approaching its end, and Ray was still waiting for his pay from the restaurant where he worked part-time. Saying that he was a bit tight money-wise would have been an understatement. The young student only had a little more than $50 to cover his expenses until the end of the month. That morning, he was walking around his neighborhood while mentally planning his budget for the next few days. He really could use a little more money. But how could he get it? She was so absorbed by his thoughts that he almost didn't notice the senior woman that was walking ahead of him. He didn't know that she was about to make his day take a wild turn. The woman was a few feet ahead of Ray. She was walking really slowly, even with the help of her cane. Ray thought about walking up to her and asking if she needed any help to get somewhere. But right before he could do that, something happened. When he saw it, Ray instantly knew he had to act fast. All of a sudden, Ray saw something falling from the woman's pocket. He couldn't see it from a distance, but as he walked forward, it became more and more evident what it was. It was a brown leather wallet. The lady had just kept walking and didn't seem to have realized what had just happened. Ray picked it up from the floor. In Ray's circumstances, more people than we would like to think would have just looked inside the wallet to see if there was any money and kept it to themselves. But not him. He may have been struggling, but he would have never been capable of such an act. So he just ran up to the woman, unaware that his good deed wouldn't turn out the way he expected. "Ma'am." "Excuse me," Ray said. The lady instantly turned back and stared at him with a puzzled expression. "Your wallet just fell from your pocket," the student said, handing it to her. "Oh, thank you, young man," the woman said with a smile. She took it from Ray's hand and then opened it. What was she trying to do? Ray thought she was going to offer him some compensation for his good deed. For a hot second, he felt tempted to accept it, but he thought twice. It wouldn't have been right to accept the woman's money. After all, he just did what any decent person would have done. He opened his mouth to reject whatever the woman was about to offer. But then, the woman said some words that made his heart skip a beat. "You sneaky, nasty boy. You just stole my money," the woman yelled. "I had $3,000 in here." "Where is it?" she screamed at Ray with a furious expression on her face. Ray couldn't believe what he was hearing. What was the woman talking about? But then, the woman said something else that left Ray absolutely speechless. "Don't think I'm scared of you. You better give me my money right now or I'm gonna call my grandson so he can teach you a lesson," she yelled. "Just give me my money and you can go." Instantly, Ray felt in his gut that there was something fishy about the whole situation. Without saying a word, he brought out his phone and dialed a number. "What are you doing?" the woman yelled. "I'm calling the police," Ray said. "I didn't steal your money. There are security cameras around here, so I think it will be better if we let the police handle this and see who's in the right." When she heard that, the woman's face instantly turned pale. Without saying a word, she turned around and walked away. But Ray stayed there and waited for the police. He had never encountered something like this in his life. He was beyond baffled. This strange woman was accusing him of stealing her money, and not just that, $3,000 to be exact. Even if he did come across that amount lying around in the street, he would have handed it in to the police. He was broke as a joke, but he wasn't a thief. Ray waited around, but no police came. He was getting a little worried because he didn't want to wait around in this part of the neighborhood any longer. He told himself he would wait a few more minutes and then he would leave. He was feeling a little exposed and vulnerable standing on a corner of the street. It was then that he felt a tap on his shoulder. Ray felt goosebumps on his skin and his heart began racing. The streets around him were deserted. He turned around so fast he gave the other person a fright. "Hey, man, relax. I just want to know if I can help you. You look lost." Ray didn't like what he was hearing, and he didn't like what he was seeing either. The look in the guy's eyes made Ray fear for his life. Ray was at a loss for words. He clutched his backpack as an instinct. The man watched his every move. When he saw how Ray was holding onto his backpack, his eyes got bigger. Ray knew he was in trouble, but he didn't know what to do. He needed to find a way to get out of this situation, and fast. The man was glaring at Ray. He clearly wanted something. "So, can I help you?" he asked. Ray didn't need or want his help, he just wanted to hightail it out of there, but the man had a firm grip on his arm. "You're so nervous, loosen up." Ray was breathing heavily and the man sensed his fear. Ray couldn't believe he was in this situation. He wished he hadn't turned the corner and walked down this street. He began to move and tried to get his arm loose from the guy, but the grip became tighter. He was in a world of trouble. And then the man asked him a question he had been dreading. "What's in the backpack?" Ray closed his eyes, he was panicking. There was no way he was going to hand over his backpack to this guy. His whole life was in there. His laptop, apartment keys, ID card, and wallet. He wished all those precious items were not in there, but they were, and now he was possibly going to lose them all. The atmosphere was tense. Ray could see the man was getting irritated because he hadn't responded to his question. He asked the man to let go of his arm first. Ray felt the pain in his arm as the man held on tighter. He wasn't going to let him go without that backpack. Ray needed another plan. He decided to bargain with him. "I'm a student, I need the things in this backpack, but I have $20 that I can give to you." This made the man red with anger. He noticed from the corner of his eye, another guy was coming across the road. Things were not looking good. In a matter of seconds, the guy was ripping his backpack from him, but Ray was not going to leave without it. He pulled back, but the two thugs worked as a team and were yanking the bag with all their might. Ray yanked harder but was struggling. Just when things were looking dire for him, he heard a distinctive sound. Sirens. The two thugs ran in the opposite direction. Ray was so relieved that he still had his backpack. He swore he would never walk on this side of the neighborhood ever again. Soon enough, two police officers made their appearance. After hearing Ray's story, they told him it wasn't the first time they had encountered something like this. That woman had been pulling the same stunt on people for months. And plus, he was almost mugged. It was a common scam they had been seeing more and more often in the streets of Philadelphia. A lot of people felt intimidated and, even if they didn't have the money, went to an ATM to give the scammers what they demanded. Luckily for Ray, he didn't fall for the trick.